foul. That was absolutely ridiculous.
The Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Up on down. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
I don't know. It's tough. Tom's up there, man. Being tough.
Ladies and gentlemen, evacuating for Boston.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Red Sox season has officially ended. And you know what that means? That means it is Celtics season! Hold on one second. Bow! Yes, it is time for my favorite time of the year. And that is for Celtics basketball to be back. We will be at the Garden October 22nd for the home opener against the Philadelphia 76ers. Already got my ticket. Already got my ticket. All set to go. Cannot wait to be back at the Garden. Got a little bit of a teaser this past Saturday, being at Jason Tatum's new Tatum 4 Experience, the release drop for his new shoes. He hosted an event in Roxbury. Great event. I might put a video out on it because I did record a lot of Jason Tatum at that event when he showed up. So maybe there might be a video coming out. But the only problem is I was not planning on recording a video at this event. So I recorded it vertically. I know. Me recording it vertically, I never do that. Never. It's always horizontal like it is right now. If I can edit the video to where it can be a nice landscape video like it is right now, I'll upload it. I will upload it. I might, if anything, put out some shorts from that event where he was getting interviewed with his new shoes, so on and so forth. And if I'm able to do it, great. If not, I'll do some shorts on it. So those will be coming your way at some point. Great time. It was a great event, so on and so forth. And in this video here, though, we're reacting to the live press conference. Red Sox President, CEO, Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, and Alex Cora. The end of the year press conference that they always do. I'm going to be less harsh on them. I am going to be less harsh on them this year. They had a W season. I would say it was kind of right in par of what I was predicting them to have. I should say kind of on par. It was on par. At the beginning of the year, I said anywhere between 86 to 89 wins. Maybe get into the ALDS. But they get into the wild card. So, my prediction for the Red Sox was correct. Let's see what they do this offseason. This is going to be a big offseason for them because, again, first playoff appearance since 2021. Actually, a year ago to this recording was when I uploaded the ALDS Game 3 video against Tampa Bay Rays. The Christian Vasquez walk-off home run. So, a little happy anniversary to that video there. Excuse me, my nose has been off all day today with allergies or whatever. They still need to get a number 2 pitcher, I would say. They can always use some pitching help, whether it's in the starting rotation or in the bullpen. Can never have enough pitching. And I think they need a couple bats. By a couple bats, I mean big bats. There's right now 2 guys that the Red Sox could be potentially targeting this offseason. And here's what I gotta say to this. Why not both? Why not both? Why don't you get these 2 guys to solidify your lineup and then you run it? You know what those 2 guys' names are? One of them might sound familiar to you people. Actually, they both should sound familiar, but like one of them should really sound familiar to you people. One of them is Pete Alonso. You need a first baseman. I don't really trust Casas. He's always hurt. And he's always been somewhat overrated. So, they need a first baseman. And the second guy that I would go after if I was the Red Sox. You guys remember a dude named Kyle Schwarber? The dude from Waltham? Yeah, he's a free agent also. Chaim Bloom let that guy walk. Did not want to pay him. Decided to pay Trevor Story. This year's story did good, but besides this year, that contract really has not worked out for him. So I say, why not both? Why not get Pete Alonso to be your first baseman, and then why not get Kyle Schwarber to be your DH? It's going to be a lot of money, but guess what? You're the Boston Red Sox. You can do it. I have faith. You have the resources where you can be able to afford both of them. Oh, and keep Alex Bregman also. Gotta put that in there too. So we're gonna react to this video here. The live press conference. This was recorded a week ago. I know I'm just getting to it, but had a lot of stuff going on and everything else. Red Sox President, CEO, Sam Kennedy. Chief Baseball Operator, Craig Breslow, and Manager Alex Cora. Talking about the season, recapping the year, and then looking forward to next year, too. We're going to be easy on them this year. Going to be easy on them. Just go out and spend some money, please. Go out and spend some money so I can finally put this cheap ownership nonsense to bed once and for all. And then, if you do that, maybe you'll see me in Red Sox gear more often next year. Because obviously, as you guys know, this is something I'm going to be touching at some point too. Maybe at the end of the video I'll do it. Because again, you see the time, 40 minutes, 42 seconds long. It's a long video. So we're going to kick back, relax, and enjoy this video here. Leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy these videos. Subscribe if you guys are new, you guys know what to do. Go check out our website. The link is in the description down below. If you guys want to be notified whenever we drop an upload, hit that notification bell so you can be the first one to watch these videos. If you guys want to win a signed Jaylen Brown draft hat from the Boston Celtics, the link to that is in the description down below. Go follow the rules so you can potentially win this hat. And without further ado, stop straight into the interview.
Thanks, Abby. Good
whatever.
morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Just a quick opening remark, and that is I want to express a huge thanks to our fans for giving us what was a great step in the right direction in 2025. Our fans proved once again why they are the best in baseball. You guys packed the house night in, night out. There was incredible energy, a vibrancy, and a feeling that we took a step in the right direction in 2025. So I want to thank them.
Here's my grade for the season. I don't think I said that yet. I'm going to say B. I'm going to say a B. Because for me, it was kind of on par. Said 86, 89 wins for the regular season. They make the playoffs, but as far as they go would be the ALDS. And I said they'd be a wild card team. So for me, my prediction was spot on. So I give them a B. Maybe a B minus. The reason why it doesn't get that higher grade is because of the Rafael Devers trade. And how they handled that situation. That's why it doesn't get into the A range. But I think a B, B minus, like, either one of those two, is definitely not below a B minus, though. It's a B minus or a B. And there's a couple factors in there. First, obviously, the Devers situation. Second off, how impressive they were even after that trade. Because a lot of people ripped them off for the rest of the season. They just wrote them off saying like, hey, the season's over, they're not making the playoffs, this, that, so on and so forth. They looked like they were going to be one of the better teams in the American League. Roman Anthony goes down, they still make the playoffs. They still made it. The way the team played itself, that goes into factor too. How the coach did this year. Rejoicing those guys after that trade or whatever. And then let's go back to one negative real quick. The trade deadline. So all that factors in. That's why I give it a B, B minus. It doesn't get that A tier for me. It doesn't. A tier would have been they made it to the ALCS.
We never take that support for granted. Appreciate you guys and excited for 2026 while we
Next
fell
year's
short
goal
of
should
our
be hosting a
ultimate goal
playoff
this
game at
year.
Fenway.
It was definitely a step in the right direction. And lastly,
Actually, you know what? No, I'll go a step further. The goal next year should be World Series contender. That should be the goal next year.
Really want to thank the two guys sitting to my right, Craig Breslow and Alex.
You made the
Cora,
playoffs.
And the Breslow
the
family.
time is now.
And the Cora family.
It's
huge
now.
sacrifices that everybody makes each baseball
Whatever it
season.
takes. Don't
you
be
guys
cheap.
work tirelessly. So
Don't
thank
be
you very
greedy
much
with
for
trades.
all your efforts. And
Do whatever you
we're
need
all
to do.
really, excited about the road ahead.
That's why you built the farm system the way you did.
To Brez, or we'll open it up for questions.
So you can open the door right now.
I can share a few words here, just echoing Sam's sentiment. Thank you to the fans. Fenway Park was electric this season. It was what we had always envisioned when we thought about a winning team and how uncomfortable it could be for an opponent to come here and play. We were above 500 at home for the first time in a few years, and that's really, really meaningful and really, really significant. And we're sitting here the first week in October, which means we didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish. We talked all off season and during the season about building a roster that was capable of a deep postseason run, and we
that
fell
went out the
short
window
of
once you
that.
traded Devers, but okay.
And I don't think there's any running from it or any hiding from it. But a few things can be true at the same time.
That went out the window when you didn't do anything
and that
at the
shouldn't
deadline.
diminish what the players did, what the staff did, and at every
And
challenge,
don't sit here and say,
there was
Dustin
an
May,
overcoming of adversity.
Steven
There are a
Matz.
number of things that we can
Stop.
point to as reasons for optimism, from the development of,
No Joe
some
Ryan.
of our young position
No
players,
Merrill
the emergence
Kelly.
of pitching
No
development
Eugenio
pipeline
Suarez.
that we think can contribute at the major league level, and we saw has
Nobody who
contributed
would have
at
been
the
a
major
major
league level.
impact.
A number of the offseason acquisitions
That would have
playing
moved the
critical
needle.
roles in contributing wins during the course of the season, and ultimately getting back to the postseason, which is the standard that we have talked about and the one by which we should be measured. So I think it's important to balance both of those things. And with that, I'll open this up for questions.
I guess, Craig, first, what do you think you have to do to kind of take it a step further?
Good question. Good question off the gate.
Yeah, I think there are a few things that we can point to. The most significant of which I think is to remind ourselves that there's no guarantee that we just pick up where we left off at the end of 2025, right? Kind of
Love that message.
expecting everyone to take a step forward.
I hope the actions show that. I hope the actions show that. Because Baltimore, look what they did. They did the same exact thing that he just said. Let me rewind it real quick.
Of which I think is to remind ourselves that there's no guarantee that we just pick up where we left off at the end of 2025.
Baltimore did the opposite of that. Look what happened to them this year. They fell off a cliff and they were last in the division. Nowhere close to a playoff spot. So, just because you have a young, talented team doesn't mean next year's guaranteed to get better. Don't guarantee that. So, use your resources. Go elevate your team to get yourself to a championship level.
Right, just kind of expecting everyone to take a step forward, I think could allow us to be complacent or to fall flat. And so, we'll take stock of the roster and we'll think about opportunities to improve that could come through multiple paths.
There's two guys in free agency
I think we can
I feel like
talk
you really
about
like on this team.
the different elements of the game and say that we have to examine our defense and we
tell your
led the
owner
league
to spend
in
some
errors
money.
and that's not good enough. At the same time, I think our outfield defense was the best in baseball. On the whole,
Well,
our offensive
from one
unit
guy in
was
particular,
good by almost all metrics. We were a top 10 team in scoring runs, in getting on base, in slugging, but we didn't execute consistently with runners in scoring position, right? We struck out with runners in scoring position,
Like I said, there's two
and that's
guys
another
in
thing
the
that
free
we can
agency market
examine.
this year that can really help you out with that.
Right now, I think we'll kind of zoom out a little bit and take stock of where we are, and we'll be open to all possible pathways to improving the team.
Greg, is your intention with the coaching staff to bring back last year?
Alex and I are having conversations. There's nothing to announce right now outside of, our coaching staff did a very good job this year. Like I said, there were a number of challenges that they faced, and you could not question the commitment, the work ethic, the relationship that they have with the players.
Craig, is there a danger to, given the format now, overreacting to a very small sample size of 3 games and determining what you need to do and why you fell short?
No.
And how much do you factor that into your off-season evaluation and determining what has to be done?
I think it's a factor for sure. I think the worst time to make a decision is kind of in the immediate aftermath of some emotional outcome.
Oh, immediately? Okay.
Getting knocked out of the playoffs is certainly that, which is why I think it's important to take a breath and kind of give ourselves a little bit of distance. At the same time, some of the opportunities to improve that I just pointed out, I think those were evident for a while. I don't think that those are reactions to a small sample, but we do have to balance that.
Greg, last year you said you wanted to
The mindset should be getting better based off of these 3 games.
Deadline, you said that you wanted to prioritize. Do you know what you want to prioritize going in the off-season right now?
Power bats.
We want to prioritize improving the team, and I think there are going to be a few paths to doing that. I think you can rewind a year and say that we improved the team in the off season, and we did that through a significant trade. That utilized the deep farm system, and I think that's a credit to the scouting and player development group here to bring in Garrett. We were active in free agency and making a significant signing and bringing in Alex Bregman and Aroldis Chapman. We were also active in some kind of more under the radar type transactions, bringing in Narvi. You look at the team, the roster this year, and Romy Gonzalez was a significant contributor who was available via waiver claim. And we saw, some of our young players kind of matriculate to the big leagues from internal scouting and development success. So I think there's a number of ways that we can improve the club. I think we demonstrated a willingness to try to attack all of those and anticipate that we will do so again.
For Craig and Alex, how do you think, your major league roster right now stacks up to the teams that are still playing in terms of equal? Do you feel like there's a gap? And how much did attrition play a role by the end?
Yeah, take the first stab. I think when you look at the composition of teams that are still in the postseason, I think they've got strong starting rotations, which we had for most of the season. Certainly injuries played a role and took a toll on us, but we were able to lean into some of that development pipeline that we've talked about, and we're very intentional in building, and saw guys like Connolly and Peyton and Kyle Harrison and Hunter Dobbins and others step in and contribute. I think it would be fair to look at some of those other teams and say that they hit the ball out of the park a little bit more than we do. And, while scoring runs is this is kind of a zero-sum game, right? And it doesn't really matter how you score, but in the postseason, a lot of runs come via the home run because the pitching is so dominant. So I think that's a consideration. And then
I like that mindset.
Don't
I
want to
like
speak
it.
for,
I like
for
it.
Alex here, but I would just say when you have a chance to convert outs, especially in the postseason, that's precious, and we have to make sure that we convert on them.
For me, it's hard to compare right now, honestly. The roster that we had at the end, it wasn't the roster we had early in the season or during the season, so it's actually very hard for me to compare.
Greg, when you talk about home runs, how do you fix that? Does that need to be done externally, or is there internal options like Tristan and stuff?
Come on now.
Yeah, I think, like I said, in answering other questions about improving the roster, we'll be open to all of those things. We faced some significant injuries during the course of the season, and to guys that have shown that they can hit the ball out of the ballpark, whether that was in the big leagues or internally. And so, I think we'll actively look to improve the roster. That means we have to be willing to look in free agency, trade, and internally.
So is Tristan your first baseman, or are you looking to add or upgrade that area?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it makes a ton of sense on October 6th to say someone is or isn't, our first baseman. We'll see how things play out. Unfortunately, Tristan has missed a significant amount of time over the last 2 years. We've also seen what he's capable of doing when he's healthy.
As far as Tristan goes, how is he doing in his recovery, and is he on pace to be available at the start of next season?
He's doing really well. He's in here every day rehabbing, just kind of watching the progress from the initial surgery to where he is now. He's moving around really well, load bearing, squatting. So we anticipate a full recovery. But I'm hesitant to put a timeline on that just because, with any of these injuries, you want to make sure that you're not kind of getting too far out in front of them.
Do you expect to approach Bregman and Boris in the next month before free agency and before the opt-out
Please say
decision
yes.
about a new contract?
I think best to keep those conversations internal.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to try not to get angry. I'm going to try not to say anything. But the answer to this question should have been yes. Because ultimately, you chose Bregman over your face of the franchise. So now if you lose Bregman and you lose Devers, you lose both of them, it's not a good look. That's just not a good look.
Obviously, Alex has the right, kind of as structured in his contract to opt out, and he's going to do what's best for his family. At the same time, I will not miss an opportunity to talk about his contributions on the field, in the clubhouse, to the coaching staff, to the front office. Every conversation we've had, I learned something. I think that impact and influence has rubbed off on his teammates, and by all accounts, he's loved his time in Boston as well.
To that end, then, what is the significance to the 2026 Red Sox to keeping him?
I think we'll let that play out, but the significance would be, having, a great player, a proven winner, a strong defender, someone who fits this park really well on our roster.
When you look at his decision and Trevor's decision, have they given you any indication on which way they're leaning at this point?
I have not had, the chance to draw conclusions about those things. Those are obviously decisions for them to make. And at this time, I think everyone will say that they were focused on trying to, do everything we could to advance in the postseason.
Alex's stats, pre-injury, post-injury, kind of dramatically different. How do you kind of quantify that going into the offseason, trying to figure out kind of what he is?
Yeah, look, I think Alex did everything he could to get back on the field as soon as possible, including playing before he was 100%, and that deserves
a lot of people are
ton
ignoring
of
that too,
appreciation because he knew what was at stake and he knew his role on the team, and we're a better team with Alex at 80% of his sprint speed, than we are without him at all. Did that have an impact on his performance? Probably a better question for Alex, but our medical staff, Alex and AC here, had a great plan to keep him on the field as much as we possibly could, and so we were able to execute on that successfully.
Greg, you talked about the defense and needing to convert out more frequently. How do you plan to go about improving that? Is that something Marcelo coming back and adding into the mix? Do you feel like you need to add from the outside to strengthen that group? What do you think the path to that is?
Yeah, I think we'll keep all options on the table. The overarching goal here is to improve the team, and if that happens, via external additions, great. If it's an internal player taking a step forward, great. I think what some of our defensive lapses have done is caused us to take a look internally about around the way that we are developing players, the focus on defense in the minor leagues, and we've identified some opportunities to maybe change some of the methods and focus on defensive conversion to a greater extent, and I think we're going to see the rewards of that.
Sam, you've been here for this whole sort of sustainability plan. You said this was a step in the right direction. Do you feel like this is now a shift in this plan where you guys are at a point where you can be a little more aggressive or have a different
Good
level
question.
of aggressiveness in terms
Let's
of
hear it.
maximizing the major league product and the success of that?
Yeah, it felt like a great step forward in that regard, Chris, and we're gonna keep building this thing, and hopefully we take the next step next year.
Greg, how does Giolito's injury and what's going on, cloud his future? Obviously,
Yeah, what about? Yeah, that's a good question.
That type of stuff. How much is this a factor when you guys look at potentially bringing him back?
Yeah, I haven't spent a ton of time thinking about that. Obviously, we were consumed with trying to perform as well as we possibly could in the postseason, and then, given the news of Lucas's injury, really just kind of transition to doing everything that we could to help him get healthy. This is a guy that obviously had a significant injury last year, worked really hard to get back on the field, and at times, alongside Garrett and Bea was carrying the rotation, right? And so, that's kind of what our focus is right now, and we'll make decisions in the future.
Are there any other medical procedures now the season's over?
Narvi is going to have his meniscus cleaned up this week. Other than that, guys are good heading into the offseason.
What's the extent of that? Was it a torn? I mean, what was wrong with the meniscus, and how long was he playing like that?
Yeah, the exact timeline I'm not quite sure. There were a couple times during the course of the season where it flared up. One of them pretty obviously. To where he missed a little bit of time, but he deserves a ton of credit for his willingness to play through this, potentially even at a time when others would have maybe bowed out, because he felt that attached.
So bring him back.
To help the group, but this should be a pretty straightforward procedure and don't anticipate any issues.
Would that be?
Oh, you're talking about Giolito?
Player come spring training after the meniscus cleanup?
That's the expectation, but probably best to wait till the procedure's done.
Greg, you mentioned the pitching pipeline and the improvements that you guys have made. As you look at the pitching staff for next season, can you rely on that to supplement the guys that you have, or do you think you would need to bring somebody in, via trade or free agency?
Got to bring somebody in,
especially the rotation.
Yeah, no one will sit in this seat and say that there's enough pitching in the organization. I think we saw that in the second half, and we could list out the pitchers that were on the IL. And it just means that depth is so critically important. So, like I said, when we talk about pursuing opportunities to improve the team, bringing in pitching is certainly one of them.
How do you view Sandoval for next year? Does he have a clear role?
He was brought in because of his track record of success as a starting pitcher, but again, I think probably premature to start identifying roles, here in October.
You mentioned obviously the big trade for Crochet last winter and using the prospect pipeline to do that. Do you feel like you still have enough of a pool of prospects to trade from to pull off another major trade like that this winter, or where do you feel like the organization?
You might have to involve somebody from the major league roster.
Yeah, I think we feel good about the farm system, the depth that we have, the young talent. Also, if you were to look at maybe some of the public rankings, it's probably misleading a bit because a lot of our really young talent is in the big leagues and contributed this season. And that's a really good place to be as well, but have a ton of confidence in the scouting and player development departments to continue to replenish. And so, as Sam was asked that question about sustainability, I don't think this is an either or outcome. The idea is to have a consistent winner in the major leagues while also maintaining a healthy farm system.
You said at the trade deadline you were not going to move players off the big league roster. How do you feel about doing so now, particularly in regards to your surplus in the outfield?
It's interesting because the surplus in the outfield was also, an area where we got really thin in the outfield, right? And so you have to think about that anytime you feel comfortable about the surplus or depth that you have. Without getting into specifics, everything has to be on the table as we think about improving the team in 2026.
You were comfortable going to the trade deadline, thinking about the last 2 months of the season of having those 4 outfielders, which thinned, yes, but you were comfortable rotating them and making it work. Could you make that work for a full season?
I'm not the person that has to, manage it. I would argue that having 4 outfielders capable of, taking 550 at-bats is a great place to be and have a ton of confidence in Alex's ability to manage the people and the personalities. But again, we have to think about what is best for the organization, what's best for building a winner in 2026.
Alex, what's your view of that? For the 4 outfielders for 3 spots.
If I have 4, I can manage them. No, I mean, you find ways, and at the end of the day, the deeper the better, to be honest with you. And that's something that we got tested.
You don't want to take my algae
at the end of the
because
season.
if I did, then
you know,
I'd fall
we
asleep,
cannot
and then I
control
wouldn't be able to
injuries,
record for
we
you guys
cannot
right now.
control slumps, right? So as far as like managing it, yeah, you can do it.
Alex, at the end of the year, you mentioned this was fun for you. And was it because you were able to get competitive baseball, or was it the group, or a combination?
The group, the challenges, is something that throughout the years we were shooting for this and we got it, and yeah, disappointed because of the results, right? It's not cool to watch games yesterday, right? That's not what I wanted. But as far as like the overall season, for me, I had a blast. We really enjoyed it. I think this place made it special. To come here every single day and win here and have the energy that we had throughout the season, that was special.
Fred, what's your plan for DH 2016?
Yeah, again, I'm going to be reluctant to make commitments about rosters or roles, just because I think we've got work to do ahead of us to improve the team.
I like the fact that he's not saying build a World Series contender.
I've talked about how I think it's important and it's beneficial to give Alex the flexibility, to be able to write the lineup and utilize players, as we see best, and to give as much versatility and flexibility as we can.
For Sam and Craig, how much does the financial room created by the Rafi trade change what you can do this offseason?
Good question.
What you could do if he was on the roster?
Yeah.
No,
I think about this.
No. Sam, this is the one time I'm going to get on him. No, Sam, this is your answer. This is your turn to answer. You are an owner. You need to answer this. Do not give it to Breslow. You answer this, buddy. You answer the question. That was for you. Not for Breslow, the GM. That question was for you. Answer it. Tell us that you want to spend and build yourself a championship contender. And then go out and fucking do it. That's what we want to hear from you right now. Don't go, no, Breslow, you got it. No, Kennedy, it's your question. It's your question, Kennedy.
Room created by the Rafi trade. How much does the financial room created by the Rafi trade change what you can do this offseason compared to what you could do if he was on the roster?
Yeah, I think about this from a baseball
What a
perspective.
Still don't like you.
And that is trying to build this kind of athletic, dynamic team, and giving ourselves and the baseball operation as much flexibility as we possibly can to do that. I think what I have seen as a player and what I've seen, over the last couple of years is that with this ownership group, when there is a chance to build a winner and a team that can contend for the postseason, like, resources aren't a problem. And, I think we've talked a lot about how this window of contention is upon us.
Okay, Sam, your turn.
I'd just add that what was rewarding to see this year was these 2 guys, again, to my right, acting with urgency. Starting with our trip to Dallas and then all the way through. We didn't get there where we wanted to go. We all know that, but we acted with urgency and certainty and aggression, and we plan to continue to do that as we go forward. So we'll see where that takes us when we get to.
I hope you're telling the truth, man. I really hope you're telling the truth this time.
Question for Craig and Alex. Craig mentioned the overall bottom line offensive numbers were solid. The risk numbers left something to be desired. What is the best way to improve that?
I think from my end, like I always said, as long as the line is moving, you're going to be okay, and yeah, we struck out a lot in those situations. We can talk about hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but now we're talking about situational hitting. So which one it is, right? So is it one or the other? I think it's both, and you have to work as a group, as a unit to keep getting better. Cash in is very important. I always believe in that, infield back, minute third, take your ground ball to second, and you score, and that's not a single. That's
I
an
think
0 for
that just
1
goes based off
based on
of
RBI.
lineup
So
construction.
we'll keep talking about situational hitting while always talking about driving the ball, So the good teams, they do both, You saw it yesterday with Detroit, first and second, 2 strikes, double down the line, they scored 2, and then extra base hit, single, Seattle gets the lead. So, it's not like linear. It's not only home runs, You have to be a well-balanced offense. We saw it yesterday with Toronto. They put the ball in play. They don't hit the ball hard, but now they hit homers. So which one it is, So we'll work hard in the offseason to get to the point that we feel comfortable with the group. We get to spring training. We'll talk about putting the ball in play and get the line moving, and then 162 happens.
Right. I know that you talked about having 4 outfielders, but how important is for Whittier to be better against lefties or be able to hit against lefties?
Yeah, I think Willier's a great player, and our lineup was not the same without him. He's a real threat to hit the ball out of the park. He plays elite defense, runs the bases really well, and it's easy to look past the fact that he and Sedan and they're still young players that are getting better in the big leagues. And so, of course, we'll do everything we can to help him, with hitting more success versus left. But we've got a pretty good idea of how good he is.
Someone needs to ask a question about Jaron Duran.
And it's kind of Alex's role is to make sure that he's in situations where he can thrive. And I think those situations will broaden over time.
You talked about the sort of overcrowded or full outfield picture that you have with 4 for 3 spots. That would seem to indicate that Yoshida's future continues to be mostly at DH. Given that most teams expect some slug from that and run production, he didn't give you much of that. He was kind of a singles hitter. Does that need to change going? Most teams expect some slug from that and run production. He didn't give you much of that. He was kind of a singles hitter. Does that need to change going forward in terms of how you envision him and utilize him?
Well, I would start by saying he also played in the field some, and he was good. So I don't want to shortchange the contributions he could make by playing the outfield, and then beyond that, it would be impossible to ignore the contributions that he made, especially in September, where just consistently having disciplined at bats, seeing pitches, not chasing balls out of the zone, and he had countless big hits for us, including the biggest hit in Game 1 of the postseason, and I think he's capable of driving the ball out of the park. He's also capable of, kind of taking what a pitcher gives him and putting together a quality at bat. And so
I don't think so.
Again, this isn't to say that in one particular position,
not on a regular
have to
basis,
get slug over, on base or vice versa.
That's good cap,
I think
though.
It's to say that
that's good cap to protect the player.
We need to score runs, and there are a number of different ways to do that.
Greg, a lot went on this year, obviously, from the Devers stuff at spring training. How much did you learn from this year about the job that you have as chief baseball officer? Or how would you say you improved during the year and improved going forward?
He didn't. But
I learned a lot. Every time there's a decision to be made, there's also an opportunity to learn about each other, to learn about the rest of the baseball operation group, to learn about myself. And so I'm constantly kind of reliving those decisions to make sure that, not necessarily that the outcome was right. That can be really difficult to predict, but that we had a good kind of decision-making process, that we had the information that was necessary to make the best decisions possible. And
no, there was not a baseball decision.
I learned a lot about the value.
No, dude, I've been fine with you this entire press conference. Let's stop it right now. Come on. That was not a baseball move. If it was a baseball move, he'd be still here, You might still be in the postseason. Let's stop that nonsense right now. That was not a baseball move. That was a personal move. By you and the front office. And alongside with that, it was to save the ownership more money. That's what it was. Based off of the return you got. And the fact that the Giants took the entire contract. Let's not sit here and say, like, oh, we got information for the team. No. The outcome of that situation was wrong. And it was because of the way you guys handled it. Again, he didn't make himself look better with the way he handled it either. Nobody looked good in that situation. But this was all because of miscommunication between you guys and your franchise player. That is no dispute. There is no debate on that.
Building relationships and having clear communication and spending time with the coaching staff and spending time with the players and certainly with Alex and of having honest conversations, uncomfortable as they may be at times. So I think that the short answer there is I've learned a ton.
Working off that, how do you look back at the deadline that you guys had now that the season's over?
Good question too.
Yeah, it's a very similar answer to the one that I just gave, which is to say, we're sitting here in October not having accomplished what we set out to accomplish. So I think it would be irresponsible not to go back and think about all of the decisions that were made leading up to today. And that goes back to acquisitions we made in the offseason, roster transactions throughout the year, and certainly the trade deadline. We went into the deadline with a few goals, and it kind of became apparent that some of those weren't going to be able to be achieved, and we pivoted. And sometimes those work out, sometimes they don't. But I think we had a good process, we had good information, and our hope is we're going to find ourselves, 8 months from now or whatever it is, in late July with a really good team that we believe in, that we're looking to bolster all over again.
Craig, you said this window of contention is upon us. How does that change your approach, if at all? You've mentioned before in sustainability, you can't do both, but is there a shift of the pendulum one way or the other? Because I think for a lot of fans who've been waiting for this window of contention for a while, to say the approach would just be the same would be a little counterintuitive to them from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there are obviously the two extremes. One is where you're thinking only about the future and you're making decisions with the long term in mind. The other is, you're going kind of all in on the season that's in front of you. And I think what we try to do as a baseball operation is to consistently make disciplined decisions that improve both. And it's really hard, but it can be done. And often that involves, trading prospects. But, I think making sure that you're kind of giving enough attention and focus to replenishing that internal talent pipeline, while also recognizing just how precious winning seasons are, and not kind of punting or assuming that, hey, we'll take another step forward in 2026. So if we just maintain the status quo, we're going to be better, because that is absolutely not guaranteed.
You look at what happened and feel like it was what happened this year. It's sustainable. I mean, you guys got a lot of contributions from guys that, again, maybe on the outside you wouldn't have expected. Romy Gonzalez, Abraham Toro was great for you guys for a little while when Costas was out. Nathaniel Lowe, DFA comes and helps you towards the end of the season. Nate Eaton, those guys. When you look at the way, Alex did such a great job of mixing and matching, and you got contributions maybe from places, at least on the outside, people didn't expect. Do you feel like that's sustainable for 2026?
It's getting harder and harder because we're competing with 29 other teams who are super competitive and smart and are also trying to leverage competitive advantages. But I think a lot of the credit for those types of moves, it starts with our scouting departments, amateur and pro, and identifying guys like Romy and Nate Eaton and Abraham Toro and others, and then the coaching staff who I think gets them to take a step forward, and then Alex in finding the right opportunities to give them some runway and being able to get the most out of those guys.
Again, Alex, just where do you guys stand with where Christian Campbell was the last few months? And I know you talked about not wanting to put roles in October, but is this someone that with a better camp in the spring, is that someone that's also maybe having more outfield conversations or sometime early next season?
Yeah, again, stopping short of role. I think Christian learned a lot about himself. We learned a lot about him. He's a tireless worker, and we saw that from spring training through his time in the big leagues when he was the AL Rookie of the Month to when he was struggling and sent down. I've got a ton of confidence both in the work he's going to commit to this offseason and what he's going to mean for this organization, but I don't think it makes a ton of sense to try to pin him to a role outside of saying he's going to kind of feel the support of the entire organization, and we know what he's capable of.
Craig, do you plan on identifying a GM before GM meetings?
I think I've been so consumed with the postseason, and I know that I had made some comments that I feel like it could be a good time to kind of kick off that search. I'm not sure exactly what a timeline might be. Obviously, we had a significant loss in Paul leaving to go to Washington, and kind of figuring out the best structure for the front office will be a priority, but exactly what those roles look like, I'm not sure yet.
Given the holes or spots on the roster that exist or might exist, do you expect this, transactionally speaking, to be another significant, busy, and weighty offseason for you guys?
I think we approach each offseason pretty similarly in terms of trying to kind of improve our outlook. Maybe the thing that changes is just how far into the future we're kind of declaring that outlook, and we're certainly pulling, prioritizing wins forward. We're going to pursue every opportunity to improve the team. Exactly what that means in terms of magnitude of transactions or number of transactions, I can't really speak to yet.
Do you think you need a number 2 starter behind Crochet?
Yes.
I think we want to build the best rotation we possibly can, and at times through the year you could say Bayo pitched like a number 2 because he did, or Lucas pitched like a number 2 because he did, or
no, I don't want to hear that.
Pitched like a number 2
I don't
want to
hear that.
But I'll go back to the question about do you rely on the pitching that you have in house, or do you seek to try and improve it? I think the answer is you always look to improve and get as much pitching depth as you possibly can.
And given the uncertainty at first base and DH, the uncertainty there moving forward, as well as the production there this past season, do you need a higher ceiling there from whomever?
Oh, 100%.
More production?
100%.
Right. Well, I think would we look for more production out of first base, more production out of second base? I think the answer is of course. Exactly what that looks like, we're going to figure out through the course of the offseason.
Mention second base too.
Alex, from your seat, how close do you think this team is to winning the pennant, being in the World Series?
We're one out away from being tied in the ninth, right? When you get to October, you never know what's going to happen. I think we took the steps in the right direction last offseason, during the season, not only as far as what the front office did, but what we did on the field. It was a much better team than the last few years. The thing that excites me is the pitching, going into the offseason. And, we had some guys last year that we thought they were going to be better, Tanner, Cutter, right? They were banged up, but what we have in player development now is real, and going into the offseason last year, we all talk about position players.
Oh my God, I forgot about Tanner Houckins, Cutter Crawford.
That's great, but we have some good position players here.
What's
now
up for them?
We're talking about, a deeper pitching staff, which is very important. We took our hits throughout the season, and we still have very talented pitchers towards the end. The bullpen is in a much better place going into the offseason than last year. So to answer the question, I truly believe we're going to be playing for the same thing next year. It's to win the AL East and have a deep run in October and hopefully win the World Series.
Alex, what do you hope the young players take away from being in the playoffs?
Well, there were some young players with us and others in Fort Myers, and everything that I'm hearing is we're going to work hard to go deeper. It was a challenge, not only the playoffs. If you think about the last 2 weeks, with everything that was going on in the American League, it got tough. It got tough. We clinched in game 159, right? And the last 2 weeks going to Toronto, going into Tampa, it was a great learning experience for that group. But also the ones that were here, Marcelo, Roman, Fitz, just watching Casas in the dugout, just see the whole atmosphere, what was going on. I thought it was a great learning experience, and hopefully one that they're going to take into the offseason and, push to get better and be part of this.
Alex asked Craig about the defense, but how do you view the defense? And obviously, the past few years, it's been a tough situation. But on the big league side, what do you feel like?
Well, we made errors, but we were a lot better. You ask around the industry, and we were one of the best defensive teams in the big leagues. There were a lot of things that we didn't do early in the season that we got better, especially in the outfield group. We dropped a few balls. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about October, the playoff, and we didn't play good defense there. But overall, it's a good defensive unit. I think, Trevor, although he slumped at the end, he was solid. Alex, when he played, was great. Toro, when he played first, he was amazing. Narvi was a lot better. I think as far as like defensive run saves, and that's what people talk about, we have one of the best in the big leagues.
Craig, the Jaron Duran club option, where does the team stand with that right now?
Yeah, not ready to speak, specifically about players or contract situations, but we've seen what Jaron means to this team, and we're glad he wears a Red Sox uniform.
Yeah, I don't like the answer to that. That might mean he's out of there.
Things approaching a point where fans can expect
Just based off of the sound of that answer.
the next year.
Well, we took the first step with the construction and opening of the Fenway Music Hall. That was sort of the anchor of the project. As it relates to the other ancillary development, things are on hold like a lot of projects, given the interest rate environment, given construction costs. But we're fully entitled, thanks to the city of Boston and their planning department. So as soon as market conditions improve for office space and the demand for hotels and more residential, we're ready to go.
Alex, just curious, from your standpoint, you did a lot of mixing and matching this year. As a manager, would you rather have that flexibility to mix and match and platoon, or would you rather say, this is my guy at this position, this is the second baseman, this is the first baseman, you plug him in pretty much every day. Which do you prefer as the manager?
One of the best teams in the history of the game, on the Red Sox history, platoon in 2018. We platooned behind the plate, we platooned at first, at second, at third. We had 3 studs in the outfield, but we've been doing this for a while, so I don't mind that.
Alex, if you think about how that lineup was built, the year before you got here, there was a lot to ask of those young hitters in the lineup, and then you go out and get some pretty good right-handed power. Is that kind of where you do this lineup next year, or do you think that for as young as the lineup's still going to be maybe having more time for Roman and Tristan to be out there, that's enough to elevate the lineup?
We're going to look for opportunities to get better, not only outside the organization, but here, how we can improve our players, and going into the season, we felt offensively we had a good unit. Overall, if you see the season, it was a good one. I think it was more consistent than the previous 2. I felt like the previous 2 years, we were really up and down. This year, it didn't feel that way. We went from a team that was going to hit homers, and we had the injury and the trade, to a team that was more contact driven. Then all of a sudden, we were banged up a little bit, and then we ended up striking out a lot. But I really believe we were more consistent than the last 2 years.
Alex, how much impressive was Connelly, considering that he was called up at the end of the season?
Bro, you know what? After game 3, I saw that kid in the dugout, and I have no doubt that this guy is going to contribute in the future. We talked a little bit after the game. The goal is to get stronger and keep getting better. He had a taste of what it is to pitch in October and in Yankee Stadium in a winner-go-home game, right? So what better experience we want for a young kid to have, right? So moving forward, he's going to be better, and I'm excited about his future.
Craig, you could make a statement that a year ago you said we need an ace. You agreed, and you got an ace. You could, and this year, Alex has talked about the pitching. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have gotten to where you almost got. Could even be playing now because of the pitching. Can you say that though? Now, if going another round, going 2 rounds, seeing the teams that are there at the top, that truly you do need that second ace kind of guy, and that though you might have it here, you might not.
I think what I would say is we need to figure out ways to improve the team, and that could take a number of different shapes. Every team gets better if you can bring in a starter or develop a starting pitcher that could pitch at Garrett Crochet's level, right? Like there's no running.
I mean, if you can find a way to get Paul Skeens, that'd be freaking great.
We'll be as aggressive as we can in trying to
oh
pace
my
that down.
God! Paul Skeens and Garrett Crochet in the same rotation. Woo! Nobody's hitting that rotation. Then you got Bayo as the number 3 pitcher. Dog. Connell Early as your number 4. Not saying no names, but you got... Never mind. I'll pause on that thought.
While also ensuring... that we're
BTT
doing
squad,
everything
if
we
you
can
know,
to
you
develop our
know.
players internally.
Well, that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for watching this video here. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe now if you guys new. You guys know what to do. Go to our website. The link is in the description down below. If you guys want to be notified whenever we drop an upload, hit that notification bell so you'll be the first one to watch these videos. If you guys want to win a signed Jaylen Brown draft hat from the Boston Celtics, right here, the giveaway is in the description down below. Go click on the link and follow the rules so you can potentially win the hat. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about the season itself. How do you guys feel about the Red Sox going forward? Feel like they got a bright future going forward. They just needed to make the right necessary moves to get themselves to that next level, and that would be to get themselves into a deep run, potentially World Series contenders. And the way I view that is there are 2 to 3 positions that the Red Sox could realistically go out to address for their needs this offseason, and that would be the DH, the first base, and a number 2 starting pitcher. You do all 3 of those things, you're in the driver's seat next year. It's a lot of people are saying it's either Pete Alonso or Kyle Schwarber. Why not both? I say why not both? Again, they have the resources. They're one of the top markets in the sport. They can go out and get themselves both of them. If they really wanted to do that, to put themselves over the edge, they can 100% do that. And if they did that, they have the best lineup in baseball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Arguably a better lineup than the Dodgers right now. Arguably. I mean, you get 2 studs in Pete Alonso and in Kyle Schwarber. Then you keep Alex Bregman. You got Roman Anthony coming back. Hopefully, say Don takes a leap, so on and so forth. Trevor Story, could he have another year like he did this year? If you'd be up there in one of the best lineups in baseball. You'd be up there. So, it all comes down to the front office again. This is going to be another big offseason for them. Because this year they made the playoffs. Now they're sniffing a deep run. Is the front office going to take advantage of this opportunity? Or are they just going to sit back and save some money like they have been doing for years in the past? Not saying last year specifically, but they did also make the Devers trade to save themselves some money. So, we're just going to have to wait and see what the Red Sox got in store for this offseason. But that's going to do it for this one here. Thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy Jesse, and we'll see ya in the next video. Later, guys.